Back on Morning Line with us this morning is Holly Ladd, health and nutrition coach, taking your calls and questions about foods you eat, exercise, maybe bounce some ideas off us. Yeah. I just had an awful vegetarian sausage. Okay, I'm trying to try some different things. I'm trying to limit my red meat consumption, though I love it, and eat more chicken and fish, and even less of that. Yep. Okay, I'm getting to a point where I, just don't want as much of that. Trying to eat healthier, but so I tried some of the vegetarian sausages and Boca burgers, which I've had some Boca burgers I really like, but this one vegetarian sausage was just awful. I mean, not just it doesn't taste like sauce; it tasted bad, and the texture was horrendous. Apparently someone eats it. I don't know if you gag it down, but I'm sorry. If you like that, there's something wrong with your taste bud. I'm sure there maybe are some good vegetarian sausages out there. One I had was brutal. Yeah. And they're not cheap. They're
not cheap. And, you also have to look at what's in them. What are they putting in them? Because a lot of times there's filler. A lot of times there's, cellulose. There's just some weird stuff in there, right?
Yeah, right.
So you want to make sure the ingredients are pretty clean. Like you can pronounce them all. Like, okay, I can pronounce every single one of these.
Ground cabbage in here. Okay,
yeah,
whatever.
Perfect.
That's fine, but if there's things you don't recognize.
Yeah.
This one came from a reputable company, it seemed like, and some of their other products I liked, but this one, it was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a fan of fake meats or fake cheeses. It's sort of like if try to just find another option. Okay. Just try to make another option. Like for example, you could take some lentils or some beans and cook them with sort of like Italian sausage spices.
All right.
And it would be like sort of a ground sausage as opposed to a tube like a bratwurst. Yeah. And you could do something like that.
And it takes on the flavor.
Or tempeh. You could use tempeh.
Now explain again. They had a lot of that at the
Fermented as well.
Yeah. What tempeh is that? A soy product?
It is.
And how is that different? Okay. So it's fermented soy as opposed to some of just the raw white soy chunks you buy.
Tofu.
Tofu. I know that. All right. How is tempeh different from tofu?
It's it's not as refined and processed. So tofu is silky and it's smooth.
It's almost like a gelatinous type yogurt.
Yeah, right. It's just like a Jello kind of thing. And then tempeh, if you open it up, it's like textured. Like you can see the whole beans. Like you can see that there's.
Okay.
So it hasn't been refined and cooked down and reshaped. It's just they've taken the sprouted soybeans, fermented them, and stuck them together into a shape.
Okay, and then you can take them then, or do they ferment them then, or are they fermented at that point?
I'm not exactly sure
you can
the
get
process.
One or the other?
They're always tempeh's fermented. Yeah.
Okay, and I've heard that's supposed to be pretty good. I think I'd like that better than the tofu.
Yeah, because then you can, and then really, if you crumble it up in a pan, and I used to make, what did I make with that? I made tempeh, I did like a pastrami, like for a Reuben, and that was pretty good.
You pulled it off, huh?
Pulled it off.
With some of the other flavors that go on to the Reuben.
Yeah, you put the sauerkraut, and I did like a little vegan mayonnaise with
the type of
Russian dressing.
Russian is what they put on, and then what kind of bread do you tend to use? Because I know you're gluten-free.
Yes, I'm gluten-free, so I will use a particular brand. So the brand is Food for Life, and I trust the products that they make. They make Ezekiel bread,
which I've had. Now you won't have that because it has some wheat in there, but they have alternates, and you find this to be one of your favorites.
Yeah, so they make a flax gluten-free bread that has really nice ingredients in it.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, and again, toast. You can't eat it untoasted. But
it's more dense. It's different, but if you toast it, she's absolutely right. And same thing with Ezekiel bread, in my opinion.
I agree.
You kind of have to toast it, and it is different than the regular, more soft bread you buy. You may not like it as much as you transition to it, but it tastes good, I think, and it fills you. You remember in Lord of the Rings when Sam and they were climbing up, and Frodo, and what were they eating? Elven bread. A little bite of it fills you up. That's Ezekiel bread.
Totally
fills you up. All right, let's go to Dorothy. Dorothy, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Dorothy. What's on your mind?
Yes, I use a lot of garlic powder, but I don't cook with the garlic cloves and stuff. So I was wondering if the garlic powder was just as good for you as fresh garlic.
Hey, that's a great question, because I'm like you. I've got a jar of garlic powder. I do have the cloves, which is it takes more effort. But what do you think?
I think that the garlic clove, the whole food, is going to be more nutritious than the powder.
It loses something in the processing. That's not to say that the garlic powder doesn't have any nutritional benefit.
Exactly.
It still is going to have the great flavor. Okay, maybe not as strong, right?
Right.
But I would say that you would get maybe more of the health benefit from using the raw, unprocessed products.
Yep. And I would say that with any herb across the board. Once you dry something, you're sucking out some nutrients.
Okay. I was wondering if you wanted to try to make your own, not so much garlic powder, but if you want, I once saw in the store there was like garlic, not chunks, it was like it had been diced up very small and then roasted, not burned, but browned, and then put into the jar, and you can shake it onto salads or whatever.
Oh, so it was dry.
It was dry. So it was dried, but it wasn't ground or anything. And if you were to take some garlic cloves like she may have and dice them up and then put them, maybe with a little spray olive oil, onto a tray in an oven at 350 and monitor it and maybe move them around a bit. And then at that point, wait till they get a little bit brown.
Yeah.
Then you could theoretically just put it in dry. Heck, you know what? If you dry it out and you just put it in a food processor, you can make your own garlic powder.
You could.
But again, you may lose something just from the heating of it. Is that right?
I think so. I'm not 100% certain.
But to some degree, I mean, for instance, turmeric. I was talking to her about how turmeric is supposed to be a great anti-inflammatory. Like when I go surfing or something where I know I'm going to get beat up, we bring that with, and after a day of surfing, I'll eat chunks of it. Now, turmeric's very potent. You can get the raw turmeric at certain groceries. They're starting to carry it more and more now. You can also buy turmeric powder.
Yep.
And I have both, but I tend to put the raw chunks of turmeric in my smoothies.
Yeah.
I just throw it, but I just prefer, if I can buy the raw stuff, I'm going to use that.
Do you put black pepper in as well?
I'll put black pepper in, and I put red chili flakes and peppers and all.
Because you need the black pepper to make the turmeric bioavailable.
Is that right? Okay, so if you, now that, gosh, do I put black pepper?
So for whatever reason, if you're going to be taking the turmeric, add black pepper.
And you're saying that helps in the absorption process from the raw turmeric?
Yeah.
I got to remember that. I don't think I've done that. What is it about certain compounds like that? Well, it's just, again, we're not doctors, but your understanding is that you need to pair those to have better absorption.
Yeah, everything that I've read, you know, turmeric's great. It's a wonderful spice. It's like powerful antioxidant, powerful anti-inflammatory, powerful anti-cancer.
We think it might help with the brain? Well, if
it's anti-inflammatory, anything that's anti-inflammatory is going to help with the brain.
Okay.
Right? So inflammation is just bad for any organ.
Okay.
And they used to think that we didn't get inflammation in the brain, but we do.
So we're talking about the inflammation being the capillaries, the veins, the blood that flows through there?
Yeah, and like an immune response where things get puffier. You know, like your brain gets puffy. You know, when you get a cut and it gets red and it's kind of swollen, that's your immune system, that's your immune response sending inflammation to flush out all the bad toxins in your cut.
Okay, all right.
So.
Yeah, you just think about all these different things that add to the anti-inflammatories. It seems like, and you've said this all along, the food substitutes and the like. And we're coming back full circle now, and a lot of the fast food restaurants even, I know you don't eat at fast food restaurants, are trying to approach this where it's no longer any of the hydrogenated oils, which is a liquid oil that is then hydrogenated to be made thick. That's bad for you.
Right.
All right, but it's going to butters, going to natural sweeteners if you can. Right, be it the honeys. Stevia is a natural sweetener that has no calories in it. I don't know if that's. Have you ever had stevia?
I have. I'm not a huge fan
because it's stronger in some way.
It's sweeter.
It's sweeter.
Yeah, it's sweeter than sugar, and there's some flavor in it that doesn't really.
I understand.
Work with me.
It's not the same exact, but I use it, and I find it works fine for me.
I could do it.
Yep, that's where I put it. I buy the raw stevia and I pop it in there, and that would be better than Sweet and Low?
Yeah.
Or saccharin? Do you even hear saccharin anymore?
I don't know. Does saccharin exist anymore?
I don't even know if the elements of saccharin are in some. Because a lot of these, sweeteners, gosh, the other day I was in Starbucks and they have a variety of sweeteners there. There's a new one now that they have. It's a combination of stevia and monk fruit.
Oh.
And I thought, that's awesome. I started sweetening my coffee with stevia and monk fruit. They have that in there. They have all these other ones as well. They have regular sugar, they have raw sugar, and they have the artificial sweeteners as well.
Well, if you're in Starbucks and you need sweet, go for the stevia and monk fruit.
And the monk fruit. I'd never even heard of that, but they bring that in. More of the restaurants, too, are talking about serving fresh hamburger, never frozen.
Yeah.
Anything that is not frozen initially, and some things you have no choice. I freeze, I've told you, a lot of my blueberries, and I pick them each year, so I have them all winter. Yeah. But fresher is better, just across the board.
Well, I don't necessarily agree. I mean, I think if you freeze something right out of the gate, like your blueberries, you go pick them that day, you put them in the freezer, you've preserved everything.
The nutritional value of it.
Absolutely.
Right. And eating them frozen is great. Now, you let those frozen blueberries thaw, it's not going to be the way they were when you picked them. Yeah. They're going to be soggy. But the nutritional value gets salvaged when you freeze it.
Yep. absolutely. So like, you know, frozen vegetables would be better than canned, or you know, frozen vegetables are fine. You know, and the thing about frozen vegetables is they're picked at the peak of the season.
Yeah.
So they're always fresh.
Now, why would they be better than canned? Because they continue to deteriorate to some degree in the can, even though it's sealed.
And canned, I believe, has been heated to some extent. You know, they're not just raw. You know, there's some process that has to go through.
Maybe a preservative put in there?
Yeah. There's going to be sodium.
I see. Yeah. Okay. So if you had your choice of buying, you know, frozen vegetables or canned vegetables, go with the frozen ones. Sometimes you have no choice if you want stocking up something with veggies. You take the cans.
Right.
If you don't have the freezer system.
Exactly.
All right, and that's a fruit. What about, I don't know, is the same true maybe for meats? Frozen meats as opposed to raw meats? I guess the same way? I mean,
the same. The problem with, well, I know this is true with salmon. Like if you freeze it and then thaw it and then freeze it again, that's where you get into problems.
Right.
But if you just catch it and freeze it and then eat it, not a problem.
Yeah, don't go back and forth and refreeze something like that if you can avoid it.
Exactly.
All right, so with meats, I'm trying to just think of any other foods along those lines.
I don't think freezing is inherently bad.
No, well, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I just talk about, like, for instance, you know, when you go and buy yourself here in a landlocked state frozen shrimp. And I like shrimp, and I'll eat shrimp, but if you've had a fresh shrimp or a frozen shrimp, there's no debating in my mind that there is an absolute difference in the texture. Maybe not so much the taste, but you know, my friend Rick back there knows exactly what I'm talking about. Where you get the fresh shrimp, it's so much better than frozen ones.
Yeah, I mean, fresh seafood to me is better than anything that's been frozen.
Yeah.
The texture, it's a texture thing.
And that's what it is, but not necessarily nutritional loss.
Exactly.
Great point. All right, on that note, we'll take a break. Come back with our final segment. More of your calls if you want to jump in. 737-7587. Are you trying to lose weight? Have you tried any crazy diets? I'm going to ask you if there's anything new out there on the horizon. We'll be back with more right after this.